Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. And we are kicking off day 2 of KBIS 2016 with the Outdoor Living Panel. And what a hot topic this is. After this, you might want to go check out the Outdoor Living Pavilion that's just right up the stairs through there. But we all know, as you said, you're sitting here now because this is such a hot topic in kitchen and bath right now. It's my pleasure to introduce our moderator for the panel, Melissa Gillespie. Melissa is the ultimate definition of a luxury lifestyle enthusiast. And if you look through those magazines that we left on the chairs, you'll see why. So inspirational. Based in San Diego, Melissa's design style can be classified as classic and cool. Are you classic and cool?
Sometimes I am.
She has transferred her love of the good life to her work. She's a member of the RMS Media Group, which publishes the leading luxury lifestyle titles, Ocean Home and Luxury Pools, which you should have on your seats there. And there's other copies, so please don't leave without. Since 2006, she's the current editor for all the print and digital content for those magazines, for luxury pools, as well as the managing editor of Ocean Home. And as if that weren't impressive enough, and I know I'm impressed.
Okay.
Good. What was impressive? You manage both publications, social media. So you're tweeting, Facebook, Instagramming, everything.
Yes.
And they're beautiful. If you want inspirational social media channels, make sure you follow. Melissa loves to entertain outdoors, and why not? And has a vested interest, both personally and professionally, in the future of outdoor space design. Please help me in welcoming to the KBIS Next Stage our moderator, Melissa Gillespie.
Yay. Thank you. That was very nice.
And I'm just for 1 second, Melissa, I'm gonna run some projects just in the background.
Okay.
So you'll see from everyone's portfolio. So I'm just gonna start that now, but it's just kind of beautiful background eye candy for you to run on the stage.
Thank you. Thanks for that great introduction. And thanks everybody for coming here today. I know it's early and they were blocking a lot of us up front from getting in, but we're here. So as was mentioned, we do have copies of the magazine here, our design issue, interior design. So if you didn't get one, they're back there. But we have several questions set up for today, and I'm first going to introduce our panel. We will have some time for Q&A at the end, so we can go ahead and grab some questions then. So I will be reading the bios because they are very impressive and lengthy, so we'll start with this. First, I'm going to introduce Alana Bussey. She's on the end right there. She's a current NKBA 30 Under 30 award recipient and 2016 NKBA Central Coast and Valleys chapter president. She's designed over 350 luxury outdoor kitchens, both residential and commercial, from London to Los Angeles, Canada to the Virgin Islands with Lynx Grills. Her design principle is to, above all, remain on top of the big picture as well as the small details, ensuring the difference between ordinary and extraordinary results for her clients. Please help me welcome Alana to the stage.
Yeah.
Next up, it's my pleasure, to the left of me is Mr. Dale Seiden. Dale began his career in restaurant equipment design and manufacturing, eventually leading to a specialty in commercial kitchen design. After founding Bar Equipment Corporation of America in the 80s and Lynx Grills, Dale launched Alfresco Open Air Culinary Systems in 2000. He's considered a pioneer in outdoor kitchens. He's been featured in the Wall Street Journal and Cooking with Paula Deen and Lux magazines, among others. Please help me welcome Dale to the stage.
Thank you.
And finally, in the middle, we have Susan Cohan. Susan is renowned in the landscape and design communities for her design work and editorial writings. As principal of her nationally recognized boutique landscape design studio, Susan Cohan Gardens, she is known for her creative use of artisanal details, traditional materials, and fine craftsmanship in her designs. As well as her design work, she is an in-demand National Garden Design speaker, discussing business and social media strategies for designers. So please help me welcome Susan to the stage.
Susan,
There I am.
So as you can see, we have a great panel of experts here, and we're going to kick it off with Alana. And I wanted to ask you today, what are some of the things that people don't normally think about when designing spaces for outdoor entertaining?
I think a lot of times what people don't factor in is the ventilation aspect of it.
A lot of times you think that you're doing an outdoor project, why would I have any sort of need for ventilation when you're already outside? But you're seeing a lot of the outdoor kitchens going under full structured roofs. So you do have to keep in mind that you may need a hood for a grill or a side burner or something along those lines. The other thing is when you're designing indoor kitchens, you don't think about how you're going to access the bottom sides of the appliances, where that's something that you do need to think about when you're outside, is you need to be able to get to gas shutoffs and how the utilities are going to get plumbed and things of that nature. The other thing is a lot of times people don't factor in when they're doing this is they want to have it be very natural and have a tree growing out of the middle of it and branches and shrubs right next to it. Would you put a tree in the middle of your, cooktop when you're in your own house? Versus, when you go outside. So you got to kind of take some of those principles into account, and where some people feel that once they go outside, they have all this free range to kind of do whatever is possible.
Perfect. Okay, I'm going to let Susan address that question next.
I think those are perfect points, but I think one other thing that people don't think about, and I see it all the time, is there are other factors in keeping an outdoor kitchen clean. And there's natural factors, and you really need to think about what kinds of sealants you're going to use and how you want it to be presented. You don't want to spend money on a beautiful big grill and have it under a cover all the time to keep it clean. So I think that's a really important point, is keeping the kitchen clean. What's red wine going to do to that stone? So the sealants are really, really important. There's a lot of good sealants out there to use also.
And Dale, anything that you can add to that in terms of what people aren't considering?
Yeah, I can add. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming this morning, because I didn't get in until 2:30 in the morning and had a little too much to drink last night. So in Vegas, I know what happens here stays here, and thank you for coming. I just want to add something to the ventilation that was brought up, which is really important. And I'm doing a lot more kitchen designs with what we call summer kitchens, a lot of them on the East Coast where they do covered kitchens. Mm-hmm. Ventilation is very important. It's got to be outdoor certified ventilation, and you have to have a minimum of 1200 CFM for an outdoor grill, because you've got a lot of combustion coming up and a lot of carcinogens and smoke that come up. So it's really important to make sure you have the proper amount of CFM. As far as what I try to tell people to think about when it comes to the outdoor space is really using the proper materials that will withstand the elements of the outdoors, especially near the ocean or even in the desert where you have humid environments and monsoonal type weather. You really want to try to stick with 304 stainless steel, 18-8, 304, 18-8 stainless steel, really important. We use that in the commercial business. It is what we call commercial grade stainless, but it does withstand the elements. It has a much higher nickel content. So I try to tell people when it comes to accessories and grills, and if there's a ventilator, whatever is going to be outside, make sure that it's an impervious material to the elements.
Absolutely.
So, we're talking about the differences between indoor and outdoor, obviously, and you talked about materials, but what are some of the other factors in terms of the designs, whether it's placement because of sun or shade, or in addition to stainless steel, are there other materials? And I'm going to start with Susan on this one, but what are other considerations for outdoor?
I think, first of all, you have to understand how the space is going to be used. If you're designing a more intimate outdoor kitchen that's a family space, and maybe it's going to be a party space, that's going to be one thing. It's going to primarily be used for catering functions. That's a totally different use. The two biggest pet peeves I have, particularly with family-style kitchens, is whoever's at the grill needs to be able to face the party.
Yeah.
And they're often there with their backs to the party. Mm-hmm. So the placement of the grill, and it's always the guy grilling, and all the guys are there with their beer, and you want them to be part of it and not with their backs to it. That's number one. The other thing is that I have a lot of clients who request granite, soapstone countertops, and particularly they always want dark colors, and they get really, really hot. You can't even touch them. One of the pictures I have has a black granite counter because the client insisted on it, and I got called, after the first 2 weeks in July, I can't touch my countertop. I can't, it's in the sun, I can't touch it. So really consider that you have sunlight, you have heat, and the elements, so you're not always going to be able to use the same materials that you would use inside, but you can use other materials as well. So it's really a materials-driven thing and a layout-driven thing. Those are my two pet peeves.
And Dale, do you have anything to add to that?
I could go on for an hour here on this kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to condense it.
As far as doing a kitchen, you definitely, to your point, where you place the grill, space planning is always my key thing. But I try not to put, I'll use my little Yiddish term here, the tuchus of the person cooking to the people sitting at the area. And truthfully, an outdoor kitchen is really not a grill. You look at outdoor kitchens, some people might just have a grill and a sink and a refrigerator and go, there's my kitchen. You put that in a house, is that going to make a kitchen? No, there's so many more elements for prep stations and plating stations and sealed dry storage. But the one thing for sure is you want to orientate, you want to space plan that grill so the butt or the tush is not facing the guests and it's sideways, and you also don't want to put seating on the other side of the grill if you can avoid it, because the grill has this big lid that sticks up in front of your guests or your family's face, and maybe you don't want to see them or they don't want to see you, but it's not a comfortable thing, and also the smoke comes out that side too. So, just to add to that.
Another, I'm bumping you, but another thing that people don't consider a lot, and they should, is task lighting. Under counter lighting, task lighting is really, really important, particularly because with added heating elements and all of that other things, you're using the kitchen for several months a year when it's dark. It's warm enough, but it's dark. So lighting is really important as well, and to consider that.
Alana?
I think the one thing we haven't touched on is wind. What direction is the wind coming from? I'm out in Southern California and we get the Santa Anas, and when they blow, it's a lot of smoke that's going to come off of the grill. You don't really want that going towards the bar seating with all of your guests at it. And then there's also certain grills that don't want the wind to hit the back of the grill. So you maybe have to do like a raised pony wall in the back of it to help buffer from that. So it's something you have to keep in mind, where when you're doing an indoor project, you'd never really factor that in.
It's true.
Yeah, wind is really a very important
It's a tricky
point.
thing.
And the other thing is, all these high-end grills, luxury grills that the Lynx or my product Alfresco, it used to be Lynx. Where am I now? I don't even know. But
You're in Vegas. It's okay.
I'm in Vegas. So leave it here. But everybody likes to cook with that lid down. It's just the way they grill. Our grills, our luxury grills today, you really don't need to put the hood down unless you're rotisserie or smoking, because there's so much combustion and heat coming up. So when they put the hood down, if you have a prevailing wind coming to the back of that grill, even if you have a bump up in the back of your hood that'll kick it up, like Lynx did a really nice job doing a little deflector on the back, but if the wind is a downdraft, like a shear, it's still going to get in that grill, and it drives the heat to the front of the grill and burns out all the components. It gets the grill super hot. So what I like to do when I design these outdoor kitchens is I like to put especially if there's a view, I always try to maximize the view, whether it's a golf course, the ocean, whatever it is. You got that wind coming in. I like to do a glass screen behind. Yeah, you got to keep it clean, but it'll keep that wind from coming into the grill and still maintain that beautiful view of whatever that space may give you. But wind is always a key factor. I try to always put the grill perpendicular to the prevailing wind anytime I can.
So that's a very good point. One of the other things that I'm always considering as well, and I'm not a designer, but when I'm covering, is the proximity to your neighbors. What kind of privacy. You want, when you're in your home, you can shut your blinds, but,
There is certain setback requirements in certain jurisdictions where you cannot build a grill, within so many feet of
Usually
property
6 feet.
lines, depending on where you're
It depends on
located.
what's every jurisdiction.
California's worse, but yeah.
right.
One other thing I just real quick I'll bring up. A lot of people are going to these Kamado cookers, these lumped charcoal cookers, which are great for low and slow cooking. But they put so much, the smoke that comes up, it just reeks, it gets on your clothes, it gets everywhere. So to your point, I mean, you really want to be able to put, if we design kitchens with a grill that's going to do incredible caramelizing and rotisserie and all that, and somebody wants a Kamado cooker as part of that kitchen, make sure that Kamado cooker is away from the seating and away from the house, furthest away from the house, and the downwind is going to blow it away from the people, because otherwise it's a terrible experience. It smells good until you go to sleep that night, and then you smell like a smoker or smoke too much.
So that leads us into, we want to talk about orientation of building your outdoor kitchen to an existing space. So, you live in this great home, but you want to upgrade the backyard. What should the design ideally, or what are your clients asking for? And I'm going to start with Dale, in terms of the layout and the design, not just for wind, but functionality.
Yeah, this is one area that I really enjoy, because my background is designing and space planning restaurant kitchens. I've been doing that for most of my career, building restaurant equipment and space planning kitchens. Keep this in mind, when we design a restaurant kitchen, we take a third of the space, is a rule of thumb, and we have to design that to execute whatever the menu items are and so on in a restaurant. But that kitchen has to be super efficient. The money in a restaurant is made in the kitchen. It's not made where the patrons are paying the bill. How fast could I get the food out of that kitchen? And efficiently, and consistent food out of the kitchen, so I can turn that table over. So it's a really good thought process to use when you're designing an outdoor residential kitchen, like when I do. So what I try to do with these outdoor kitchens is kind of create a flow that where we have dry storage. And by the way, dry storage is really tough to find where it's safe and sealed. Okay, and there are a couple of people and we happen to be one. Lynx is one that makes a sealed pantry. Very important for dry storage, so you can keep stuff outside that you would never think to keep outside, because bugs and dirt and everything goes under there. So we need good, safe, sealed dry storage. We need refrigeration. Then we need a good prep area, good sink and a trash center. So I try to, just like I design a restaurant kitchen, and I don't think you put that slide, I don't think Leanne put the slide up there, but I had a slide that actually shows a restaurant kitchen I designed with the flow. So it goes from storage, cold, dry, prep, cook, plating and garnish, and then serve and entertain. And that's where I really get into it, because I could have, Grey Goose bottles in there and everything else, and that's, we're doing our cocktails and libations, and we're serving and entertaining. So it all creates this just a fluid flow, just like I would do in a restaurant. And I always say the outdoor kitchen is now really the new indoor kitchen. And it's becoming so popular everywhere in the country.
At every price point.
Yeah.
Alana?
I think a lot of times when you're trying to figure out how you're going to plan it is proportion. You take these clients shopping and they see that there's 1,000 items that they can put in their outdoor kitchen and they want all of them. But then when you go to their house, it's a condo with, the neighbors 5 feet away. So they're more limited. So you need to kind of take in perspective, how big is their yard? Is their yard divided into sections? Is it more of a backyard, side yard kind of thing? And then figure out, just like how if you take the house, the kitchen is one portion of the entire house, the outdoor kitchen is going to be one portion of the outside space. And it also works on the flip side. If you're on an acre property, you're probably not going to just have a grill, a side burner, and a set of doors. It's probably going to look weird when you go out back and there's this huge space, versus you could put in the 14 by 14 foot full kitchen.
I'll pick that up. Let me be a gentleman here.
Thank you. Susan, do you have anything to add to that?
I think something else that people don't think about is, what do they want to see what parts of the kitchen or not do they want to see from the house? So that could have a really big bearing on where you place it. Do you want to be looking at your outdoor kitchen, or do you want it to be kind of a surprise off to the side, or some other element? Some people say, yeah, I want to be standing in my kitchen and I want to look at another kitchen, and that's great. But some people don't want that. So I think it's an important question to ask is, what do you want to see, or what are you willing to see? Because that's going to affect your layout, that's going to affect everything in terms of how you're placing the kitchen. They're not always back in the back 40. Sometimes they're right up, it's like a kitchen in a kitchen.
So I guess that would determine, exactly how much you're going to put into that outdoor kitchen, distance from the home, if you're going back and forth, and like you said, storage spaces, dry goods, prepping station. And our next question is really similar to this, and so I don't know how much we would build on it, but we were talking about how do you determine the best place to build the kitchen, and as you had mentioned, do you want to be in your kitchen looking out the kitchen? If you have an existing hardscape space, let's say I have a pool, how do you orient and how do you determine? And I'm going to go back to Susan on that one.
I think pools are a totally kind of separate issue because they're usually not where I work, close to the house. Some of them are, but rarely. So you don't have a lot of the same challenges as if you have somebody who's got a beautiful patio. They bought a house, they have a beautiful patio right off the house, and they want to add a kitchen to it. That's a much different thought process than somebody who's already got a pool and a pool deck and maybe even a pool house, and they want to add a kitchen. That's a totally different thought process in terms of placement and the number of elements that you can use, and how intense you can get with all the different features that you can have in a kitchen. It depends. You really have to think about the space and what's possible, and everything is possible. You also have to, I think, the other part of retrofitting kitchens is plumbing, electric, all the stuff that the client isn't really thinking that they're going to spend money on. And so that the sanitary, the drains and all of that it's really important. And you can't put a sink in without letting the water and everything else go out.
Right.
So unless you want to put it in a bucket, and who wants to do that? So
Yeah.
I think you really need to think
might be
about
the luxury, yeah.
the placement of those elements.
Dale?
Let me just add something. Size, location of the kitchen, the space planning part, all important. I get more and more people asking or saying, when I do a design, I don't really need a refrigerator out there because I'm only 15 feet from my house, my indoor kitchen. But the reality of it is, at the end of the day, the closing rate on fully functional kitchens, which is what we're really everything is kind of evolving into now, is about 85% on our end. So the designs we put out, people think about doing like 3-4 pieces out there maximum, and I end up with 7, 8 to 10 pieces, right. And it creates a fully functional environment. Now, really important to know, you do have limitations on space if it's a condo or a townhouse or something like that, but there's so many really unique components today, accessories that fit underneath the counter,
Yep.
that use up what would normally be wasted space. There's a refrigerator that goes underneath the grill that has marinating drawers and a door that is just like we would use in a restaurant. Now it gives you that much more space to do other things. And what I would say to people as far as pool and relationships to pools, I like outdoor rooms, pools, fireplaces. To me, I try to, now some properties, I'm doing a $500 million house in Bel Air right now, which is crazy, so it's a whole different thing. It's got kitchens everywhere, commercial to residential, it's nuts. But I've actually done several swim-up kitchens, and those are really neat. And there's one right here in Henderson, actually, I did for the Builder Show probably about 8 years ago, and it's still relevant today. It's so neat to be able to swim up and see the stools there. I try to incorporate, here's our kitchen. I'm creating a social interactive space. I want people, if I'm going to have seating there, I want them to be able to easily look to the right or left and socially interact with people sitting in the outdoor room, maybe people in the pool. I try to pull it all together. If I can. It doesn't always work that way, but it really does create that just optimal social interactive environment, that just flows in the whole backyard. And it just ties everything together with the kitchen. And just one more thing I'll say, view. If you have a view outside the house, you definitely want to turn the grill perpendicular to that, because you don't want to block. People always forget they've got this 18-inch high lid or 17-inch high lid sticking up. You don't want to block some beautiful view of the ocean or golf course or vistas or whatever.
Right. Elena?
Conversely, you can use it to block view.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you do want to block the view. I hate that neighbor. Or whatever.
Just to kind of touch back on utilities is something that normally factors into, especially when somebody is wanting a sink, is when you snake those lines and you find out where the waste lines are and how they're running and how deep they are. Sometimes that limits you, unless you're going to be running brand new lines out to the sewer, of your kitchen sink can only basically go here, because as we all know, everything has to be at a certain angle and a certain slope. Versus your gas lines are going to be easier to run, your freshwater lines are easy to run, but that waste line to that sink is the one thing that may dictate your kitchen has to go here.
Absolutely.
If it's got to go to the sewer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think sometimes there's, important questions that we forget to ask, and that maybe clients don't think about to respond to your refrigeration question, particularly at a pool. Do you want, 15 little kids running through your house to go to the refrigerator to get a cold drink? As soon as you ask that question, the refrigeration issue goes completely away, because they don't. And if they have teenagers, it's even worse. So, you want to really get to the meat of how somebody anticipates using this and ask those questions and really drill down to what they need.
So I was at the session yesterday where the National Kitchen and Bath Association were talking about the trends for 2016, and they had mentioned that 2013, the demand for outdoor kitchens decreased. 2014, 2015, it was flat, but based on their survey and new results, they're seeing an uptick for 2016, which I was surprised it was flat, but so we're on the uptick. So my question to you, in any economy, but what are the popular items that your clients are requesting in outdoor kitchens? I mean, what are the must-haves, and whether or not you recommend or don't recommend those options?
People want really unique stuff. Again, barbecues. I'm sorry, I jumped in.
It's okay.
Go.
Start with Dan.
I'm going in deep here.
It's good.
There's so many cool things. Power burners are huge. People like it. They love low country boils, lobster pots, and that type of thing. Teppanyaki griddles are becoming big. Pizza ovens, which aren't, and you need to know, these are great items to have outside. They're not just for pizza. We just call them pizza because that's the excitement that draws people in. Then they look at the price and go, oh my God, $6,000, $7,000 or whatever it might be. If it's a Woodstone, it's $16,000.
Exactly.
And it takes 3.5 hours to preheat. But you could roast, you can bake, you could do everything in those ovens. There's so many things. Warming drawers are big. Some people want dishwashers outside. Unfortunately, there's only one company that really makes a certified outdoor dishwasher. And it's kind of tough to do. What I try to tell people to do is to try to find products that will do multiple things, single products that have multiple uses. And they're out there. We make a bunch of them. I know Lynx does. It limits it makes it, you don't need to use as much space when you can have a multifunctional, single-use product that'll do many different cooking styles or many different utilities. So, if somebody asks me what the most important thing to have out there is, if nothing else, trash. Have a trash
Oh,
unit that goes
amen.
underneath the counter because nobody likes bees around. You know, you're throwing stuff out with sugar and that just draws bugs.
Yep.
So
Little pull-out trash drawer, just
Little-
like you have inside, is perfect.
And then to go with that trash, you know, my favorite item is the paper towel holders for outside. It's a fully sealed unit. You pull down the little handle. Because how many times, you know, you think you're not going to need paper towels outside, but you actually do use them all the time, wiping stuff up. You don't want to have to run back into the house. It's a fully sealed item. It's the one thing people don't realize they want and that they will need the most. And it's not a very expensive ticket, which is nice that you can add in these extra little bells and whistles, and it's only going to cost your client a few $100s versus, you know, some other bell and whistle that they're talking into the few thousand. The other thing that we are seeing for outdoor kitchens is the keg taps. Everybody, especially the double head ones, you could do like a root beer and a regular beer, or dark and light. But if you're going to do this outdoor kitchen and you're going to entertain and have all these people over, every husband wants the outdoor keg.
You got to remember to save room for the keg.
Yes.
I'd rather have a freezer for my Grey Goose, but then again, I'm not a husband. I'm not married. So.
Well, that's a good point. Is that
When you do, you'll get the keg.
you have options for beverage centers and refrigerators, and to your point, refrigerator can hold plenty of cold drinks. I'd rather have a refrigerator and an ice maker than a beverage center and a refrigerator.
And one thing, let me add to that, because the refrigeration business is really my background for the restaurant equipment business, and you want to go with a refrigerator that is, number one, all stainless steel.
Yes.
Okay, and you want to go with high BTUs. There's a lot. Refrigeration is probably one of the most misjudged products in the outdoor kitchen. Ice makers too. You want to go with a high. You could go with a very cheap ice maker, cheap refrigerator, and let me tell you, just like the grills, you get what you pay for. And you know, refrigeration, high BTUs, you definitely want. The hotter the environment, the more heat is going to get into that refrigerator. So the more BTUs, the bigger, you know, compressors you really need to really keep that beverage or your provisions cold so that they won't perish. In the restaurant business, we have food has to maintain between 33 and 40 degrees temperature in 90-degree ambient temperature.
Right.
So otherwise, it builds bacteria. So
Going back to the black countertops and stone surrounds and blazing sun, your refrigerator and the level of quality that you buy is really important. You're not in an air-conditioned kitchen. So, particularly if you're going to leave things out there all the time.
yeah, you know, I'd like to just add to the countertops, because this is something I talk about if I do a kitchen design seminar. There's a lot of synthetic or a lot of aggregate stone type tops out there that are put together with adhesive, you know, and just be mindful of the fact that they may not have UV inhibitors in them.
Yep.
So if they're in the sun, it may be this beautiful marbly looking color that you like, you know, like Carrera or whatever somebody might want outside, and in a year it looks like it's yellow.
Mm-hmm.
So just
Same
be-
thing with sealants. Same
Yeah.
thing with sealants. Make sure you're using a UV stabilized sealant, whether it's matte or not, but it's got to be, otherwise it'll yellow.
And then you don't get the countertop warranty either. So
Yeah,
if you stick
that's
that
right.
outside,
Yeah.
you've just voided that warranty that you just sold the client on that lifetime, and you're the one now paying to replace that item.
Now, the coolest thing, if I could just add one more
yeah,
thing,
please.
outside, it's kind of the new big thing that's I try to design into most of the kitchens I'm doing now, is an edible wall. Does anybody know what that is?
yeah. The living walls.
Okay.
Beautiful.
We do herb walls. We do like right near the
With
Yeah,
herbs.
right
Prep
near
area.
where your prep is or your grill is, so you're just cutting those herbs right off and putting them right in the pan. It's such an easy
That's a
thing to
great
do.
idea.
And you just put a drip water system in there, and it looks beautiful.
You have a freestanding, I mean, now we're going to get like, my landscape designer part is coming out. I've done a backsplash, and I didn't have a picture of it, a backsplash that was actually an herb planter. So it drained off the back of the kitchen, but the backsplash was still there, and you
Nice.
perfect.
That's beautiful.
Perfect.
That's a great idea.
And it adds a nice soft green element to an otherwise hard, shiny area, which is great.
You know,
It's
one
like
thing,
putting pillows on a couch.
you know, also with the design, what about cabinetry? And are there certain materials that you have to be
Well, that's
We talked about
We're
great
kind of
question.
getting to a tipping point, I think, on cabinetry where there's options available that don't have to be custom made. There's good ones and there's bad ones. All the cabinetry that I've used up to this point is we build it.
Okay.
Because we can make sure that it's right.
Build the metal studs with Durarock, or are you talking about
Wood, no wood, or no, cabinetry, but no.
Enclosures.
I do a lot of stone surrounds, but sometimes with wood doors and marine furnishes and whole nine yards.
Very important point. We're dealing with high BTUs, we're dealing with combusting flames. Try to stay, I always tell people, try to avoid building anything out of wood studs near the grill.
Oh, we don't do
Yes.
wood studs. No.
So when it comes to, cabinets, you got a few different kinds. You got stainless steel, which, there's a company that's here that actually makes stainless steel. There's probably a few of them now. You've got metal studs with Durarock or some kind of, concrete board that'll hold any kind of stone, but the metal studs are usually galvanized, and if you're near the water, they can corrode and collapse after a few years, so you got to be careful of that.
I don't trust them.
Yeah, I don't either.
We build out of concrete masonry units
agree on
and
that.
real stone.
No, I totally agree. Now, here's the problem: when you go with stone, when you go with a concrete block, the problem is it really limits you space-wise because you've got to put mullions in, so you really don't have the space for storage underneath. You got all these, really creates a lot of wasted space. So
It's a planning issue.
it's a planning issue, but to tell you, when I said fully functional kitchens, I've actually done them in less than 10 feet, fully functional, with sink, ice bin, sealed pantry, side burner, grill, seats on the back end in less than 10 feet. So it can be done. There are accessories that allow you to make, and trash too is in that. And it's right here in Vegas, as a matter of fact, in Queensridge, this little one that we did, and for the owner of Station Casinos. And it was pretty cool. So there's a lot of really neat things you could do in small footprints.
And
Like
that's
anything else,
actually
you have to do your research.
research is important.
Sorry.
No, our next question is actually about space planning appliances. And so what are some of the ways you can save space, have a fully functional luxury outdoor kitchen, but save space doing so? And I'm going to start with Dale on that one.
Haven't you heard me enough?
Yeah, I want to hear more.
Anyway, no, I'll just go back to what I said before. There's so many unique little accessories, and like the towel holder underneath. That's really it's really a good thing. You don't want towels hanging around or a roll of paper towels on the top that's going to blow off. So that you got trash. It's finding these pieces that will go underneath that countertop. By the way, we want to maximize countertop space. I can't tell you how many kitchens I've seen. And you guys, if you go into a retail appliance store, you'll see displays or vignettes, and you got a grill, you got a side burner, you got a power burner, you got you got an ice bin, and they're trying to create a lifestyle look, but it's not. It doesn't work because you have to have countertop space, and I try to maintain 18 inches minimum between each product. So you have to really do your research, as you said, to find those pieces that really allow you to space plan to give you all the essentials for your culinary creations outside, so you're not running in and out of the house, but stuff that will fit underneath that countertop.
Yeah, you got the same right open, left open. Is the cook right-handed or left-handed is a really good question
Right.
for where you're going to put burners. But then people do the same thing they do inside, and they bring out the blenders, and they bring out this, and they bring out that, and you've got to leave space and have, for them to have those things. They don't leave them out generally, but there's as much junk on the counter as there is in a lot of home kitchens.
Yeah, when your client walks into the showrooms, of these appliance dealers, and they walk in and they go, "Oh, I want that." Well, the appliance place, they're designed to cram as many appliances as they can into as small space as they can. So when you go in there is just going to be the 3 inches between everything, and that is not functional. So it's really, your part as a designer to go through and let them know you do need a prep area. You do need, if you have a sink, you need an area to set down dishes to be, or whatever might be washed. You need an area to set down the food you're taking off of the grill. You can't be holding the plate, opening the lid, and pulling the rack of ribs off.
Yeah.
So sometimes you do have to kind of limit, and then if just by questions you ask the client, you can find out what is most important to them. So then you can kind of prioritize everything, and you may have to tell them that they can't have their power burner, or they can't have their second grill, or something along that line, so that we can truly make a functional kitchen, not just how many appliances can I cram into this space.
You can scale things down too, just like you would in an apartment. You know, not everybody needs a 42-inch grill.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, very few people actually need a 42-inch grill, but most appliances, there's different sizes. So you really have to do your research and go out and look for those elements. And know that they may never have to use it, but it's got to be back here someplace. Oh, I saw that. You know, and then you can go back and you can get it.
Yeah, and something else, the grills, ours, Alfresco, for instance, we make a series of drop-in accessories that turns the grill into a roasting and baking oven, turns it into a griddle, which is a pretty common accessory on grills, but then we have a steamer, fryer, and pasta cooker that drops into it. So, you know, there are other grills that have little accessories and things. So think about that you can actually create a whole kitchen in a 42-inch grill. So, or a 36-inch grill. There's just so many, and now there's a drop-in solid fuel insert. You can turn it into a wood-burning grill. So, you know, there's all kinds of, you know, ways to really think of using smaller space for maximum utility.
Storage. Where are you going to bring those plates down from the kitchen every time, or the pots and pans, or whatever you're going to bring? Are you going to keep it outside? Are you going to shuttle it back and forth? Very often where I am, there's slopes, and the kitchen is actually below, the outdoor kitchen is actually below the kitchen, so there's stairs to negotiate. So storage is also something I think that people miss on all the time. And you rarely do you have, unless you're doing indoor or overhead, you rarely have overhead space. So you really have to think about storage.
And again, think about sealed, safe storage, because nobody wants to open one of those doors and reach your hand in there and have a bug, spider crawling up, or, you know,
Or a squirrel.
Squirrel, or a rat. I mean,
Chipmunks that can get in anywhere.
yeah. Anyway.
So I have one more question, and then we can open it up. And I want to talk about budgets, and I'm sure, you know, your clients come in with big, grandiose ideas. You know, how do you work through the budget with them? Is there a way to phase projects? You know, can you come in and just start with one point? Do you need the large-scale design and then, you know, phase through it? So anyone who wants to...
I would say if you're trying to phasing, just like when you're talking an indoor project, phasing it in the end is going to cost your client more. It's just a fact of life. But if for some reason they do need to phase it, you would almost have to do multiple islands outside, because it's going to be harder to go back and retrofit items in, cut openings. You know, if you're talking, they don't want to buy a couple accessory doors that they'll cut in later. Well, how much is an accessory door? A few $100s. You're now going to pay somebody to come back, cut this brick, put it in. You're paying for the extra material to cover this hole. You know, the other thing is a lot of these grills are not the same size. So if they say, well, we don't want to buy XYZ brand of grill, we're just going to buy this one that we saw, you know, on sale or on Craigslist or whatever it might be, in 5 years when they go to replace that grill, it's probably not going to be able to go back with one of our grills. It's going to not fit. So you kind of do have to, you know, either the client's better off waiting a little bit till they can afford it, or try to do it in chunks. So you'd have like the cooking island, and maybe you'd build that, and maybe a few years later you'll come back and you'll do the island for, you know, with your cocktail center and your fridge and those kind of things could be an option.
You know what I find?
They always find the money.
This space is so new, and it's so exciting, and it's such a great investment for the home today. And I think in the Wall Street Journal 2-3 years ago it came out that outdoor kitchens and outdoor rooms bring back 270% return on the investment. But here's the thing that's the craziest. I think it's kind of funny and fun at the same time, and it's exciting when I do a design for one of my dealers or one of their designers that comes in and buys from that dealer for their client. I'm doing this design. Most people have no clue what the outdoor kitchen is or what they want. They just know they need a barbecue. So when they realize that they could have seating, they could have trash, they could have refrigeration, and everything lined up, and you do this storyboard, you're giving them something they didn't even think about. So the budget might go out the window, but it goes out happily in a lot of cases with these people because they're going, I didn't know I could have that kind of a kitchen outside. I love that. They may take one piece out here, one piece out there, but I could tell you, most of the time, they throw it right back in. I can't be without that sealed pantry, or I can't be without that warming drawer.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to say, yeah, I mean, people do have budgets. One thing another thing I'll just add, when people look at these luxury grills that we're in the business of, building, you could actually do so much more on a $5,000, $6,000 42-inch grill that has a smoker system built in, has all these accessories that drop in, rotisserie, than you could do on your $14,000 dual fuel range inside the house. And you're keeping the smells outside. So when somebody says, God, why am I could buy this grill for $1,000 at Home Depot. Yeah, what kind of stainless is it? Do you want to replace it in a couple of years? And by the way, what do you have inside your house? Well, I've got a Thermador, a Wolf, or whatever it might be. What'd you pay for that? 10, 12,000. Well, this is half that price, and it's going to last longer. It's got a lifetime warranty on it. Most of the good ones do. And you could do more outside than you can inside. So it's a really good case to bring out, to really make with your clients. If they say, I don't need a fancy grill, they need it more than they think.
I think the place to spend the money in a budget is the appliances, because you can sub out other materials if you have to make your budget. But if you spend money on the appliances, they're going to last. Whatever other materials you're going to use, unless, like you said, you're using framed lumber, which I don't know why anybody would use.
It's crazy, but some people do.
I know. Those materials, you can usually find something comparable that will have the same look, that may be a little bit less expensive, or maybe, once you get the appliances all settled, they're like, okay, in for a penny, in for a pound. You can spend $500 on a grill, you can spend $15,000 on an outdoor grill. Just depends.
So I'm going to open it up. If anyone has any questions, not to put you on the spot, but we have 3 experts here at your disposal. Yes. Oh, she's prepared.
What company? What companies do you work for, and what booth numbers?
I am actually, first of all, I don't have a booth. I'm Alfresco Grills. I'm the founder of Alfresco. I just happen to be the founder of Lynx too, but I don't have Lynx anymore. A great company, but that's my brand, Alfresco, and it's got quite a breadth of line.
I'm a landscape designer, so I design outdoor kitchens. I don't make appliances or anything. I design outdoor kitchens for clients, and I'm based out of New Jersey.
I work for Westside Remodeling. We're a design build company out in Ventura County, California. And then I also work with Lynx Grills, which is the one that he founded. Lynx does have a small display in the other hall. They're sharing it with the Marvell refrigeration booth. So if you look in your directory, you can see that, but you kind of walk into the building, it's going to be more to the far left. So, and we do have a grill out there, and you can see how it's easier to lift, and it's just a much better product when you're entering into the luxury grill market.
Interestingly enough, the Lynx is only a couple of miles from the Alfresco factory, but with both companies, we're a total vertical company. We build 100% of our products under one roof. Refrigeration, cooking, everything. So, and we build our restaurant equipment. We still have restaurant equipment product lines too, that we build on the same production line. What's that? No booth here. We're going to be at the Hearth Product Show in New Orleans, which is more our beginning of March. I don't know. I got to look at my drink schedule because I usually plan around it.
The cocktail calendar.
Comes to storage in these areas, what are you making your cabinetry out of? I see the surrounds are CMU.
I only heard the word storage.
What are the surrounds?
What are they making the cabinets out of?
materials?
What's inside?
Yeah, material-wise.
Materials, yeah.
Oh, you can run the gamut. You want it to be sealed, though. Many companies have stainless storage units. I don't find them to be warm and inviting. I've used and you'll probably be appalled at this, I've used shelving in baskets for clients who just want to, take it upstairs. Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Absolutely.
I do want to mention some of the slides you've seen here with the Ocean Home logos. A couple of those are Danvers Outdoor and Brown Jordan Kitchens, and they have a booth here, but you can see the different types of materials that they're using where they look like wood, but they're not wood. So
Yeah, they're steel. They're powder-coated steel. They're pricey.
Hello, my name's Simon. I'm from the UK. I actually deal with outdoor products, but actually only one brand at present, and that's Viking.
Viking.
We actually service, repair, maintain, and install and sell. We're actually looking for new products, but there doesn't seem to be anybody from the US that wants to enter the UK market. Just recently, Wolf. Obviously, we've got climate issues where it's not so warm. So we need good quality ones. I wondered if you could push me in the right direction, if you know of anybody that's interested.
Well, yeah, we're actually working on getting approved in the UK right now. And we are shipping some product to Europe. We've got somebody, believe it or not, in Prague that's selling our stuff, and they have to put transformers on. It really didn't get, the proper certification. To be honest with you, the business has grown so exponentially here in the United States and Canada that it just hasn't been our focus. But there is such a demand for this type of product. There's a lot of money there. And luxury products that, you're right, there's very few. I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Yeah.
Leanne, get back over there.
You have your Fitbit on? Good.
Everybody have a Fitbit?
Everybody should.
Just recently is that I've come across a few projects with outdoor kitchens, and especially in the London area, and clients are actually spending as much as, minimum around £100,000 for the outdoor kitchens.
Right.
So I feel in the UK it is a big business, but unfortunately I think there's a lack of appliances for the outdoor use in the UK.
That's why you're talking about as far as being impervious to the elements for the outdoors. That's why what I said before, the type of stainless is so important. And that goes for the doors, the cabinets that go into the structures. It has to be a high nickel content. I wouldn't go with anything less than 304 18-8 stainless steel. There's a lot of companies that have gone to 201 stainless because it's less expensive. I don't think you should look at outdoor appliances that way. And you said it. You get what you pay for.
You got to spend. Yeah, that's the meat of the whole thing. Everything else is just smoke and mirrors.
How much is 100,000 pounds in U.S.? I'm so bad at math. What is it?
About $175,000.
About 100. Yeah.
About $175,000.
Yeah, and it's crazy. How much could a fully functional kitchen be here? One of the ones on the slide there, that several are ours, but anywhere from 10,000 to 200,000. There's one going in Bel Air right now for $200,000. It's $200,000 kitchen, and it's a combination of our commercial under-counter refrigeration. It's really a commercial counter, just like we build for Houston's. We do all the Houston's restaurants in Hillstone, if anybody's familiar with them. But just like that's the dish up and plating, and then everything else is al fresco, wood stone. It's about $200,000.
Hi, I'm Tom.
That's a lot of pounds.
I have a two-part question. One is, I've been building.
We can't hear him.
I've been building on a block. We have for years, and we're kind of entertaining with the framing. Do you use steel, or what do you use for the framing? As well as, how close do you like to put your side burner to the grill?
It was about the framing for the cabinetry. Is that what you were asking? What's used?
What do you guys use? We use block, but we're
use
thinking about
block.
using steel.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things. We touched on it, but concrete block is restrictive because of your
Right.
space
So the
you need.
skinniest you can get it is going to be 6 inches.
6 inches, which is bad because then you lose a lot of other space under there. But what I would suggest is metal studs is a much better way to go, but you got to be careful because metal studs are very thin gauge and they're galvanized. You can exhale on them and get a little moisture on it and they'll rust after a while. So if you do use that, you want to be able to coat them, paint those studs, or you could use aluminum tubing. But those give you they give you much more flexibility. And then you just put your Durock or Hardy Backer on there, which is a fireproof, concrete board, and that's the best way to me.
Is your side burner, how far do you put it away from the grill? Do you guys do?
How far do you put a side burner from the grill? Well, it all depends on your overall space in that leg, if it's L-shaped or straight or U, whatever. But I try to put the side. I try to leave if it's a tight space. The very minimum I would go. I mean, we make a grill that has a side burner attached to it, so it's a deluxe unit. But if I have the space, if it's going to be built in, I try to keep at least 12 inches between the
put
two.
a pop down.
So you have landing space, you could do plating, you can have your seasonings and so on.
You want to think about, I think, what's really important, and we didn't mention, the same functions that you have in an indoor kitchen, like the work triangle, are the same functions you have in an outdoor kitchen. So you really want to think about that.
Yeah, you might get upset at me with this, but I want to just tell you, you can smack me. I get it all the time. I deserve it. But it's funny, the 26-foot triangle, which has been the rule of thumb over the years inside the house. If we took that methodology and designed a restaurant kitchen using that 26-foot triangle, we'd be out of business.
You can't.
So that's why when I talk about designing it, I kind of bring that restaurant thought process to the home, that methodology. It's about function and flow, comfort, convenience, creating zones where you're moving, you're standing and doing all your prepping here, and just a quick step here, you're throwing the food right on the grill, and just another step or two, you're plating and then serving. So it really doesn't apply in restaurants. So that's my only argument. Not argument, but
Yeah,
that's
I think
my...
a tight space, particularly in a smaller kitchen, it would probably apply better than in a more expansive kitchen. If all you have is a refrigerator and a burner and a grill and maybe an ice maker, that's going to, and you have a tight space, you want to think about how you're going to move around that kitchen and be efficient.
But to go back to your question, 18 inches would be great if you have the space. The other thing is you have to check the specs on your appliances. A lot of times certain ones say nothing close to the grill within so many inches, which is normally that 12 inches. And sometimes even burners say you can't go so close, which if you put them closer, if anything has an issue, that could play into warranty issues later. So if you slam them next to each other at like 6 inches and they're saying 12, that's kind of a sticky situation. If something burns out, is it heat from the grill that made the side burner go out, or something along those lines?
That's a really good point you're bringing up, but I will say that, just to give us a little, not that I'm here to do that, but I am, I guess, but ours, we have designed it so that it can be butt to butt. So you could actually create a knuckle joint, putting a side burner next to a grill, because sometimes you're just really tight for space. So it does not affect it at all. So there are brands that are okay to do that with. And I believe Lynx is okay to do that with too.
We do recommend
You just brought up a really good point, I think, and you did too, in that before you even start, figure out what brand you're going to spec, because everything's different brand to brand. Doesn't mean you have to use one all the way through, although a lot of people like that. But maybe you're going to use a Wolf grill and a Lynx refrigerator or whatever. You want to know what exactly you want to use, because that's going to affect the technical aspects of your drawings and your design and the ease of the build, and whether you're going to violate the warranties.
Good
I
point.
think we have time for one more quick question. Was there another one?
Here.
Yes, Susan, you had asked about, or you had, okay, you had mentioned cleanability, and I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the best cleanability materials to use.
What, sustainability?
Cleanability.
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 And what are the best products for cleaning?
Well, I think the biggest problems that I've had in the past, because I do a lot of stone, and it kills me, but one of the popular countertops in my area, because it's native to us, is bluestone. Bluestone is extremely porous. You put down a glass of red wine on that countertop and it's got a red ring for the next 4,000 years. So what we use is a matte masonry sealer that's UV stabilized, that once it soaks into the stone, you put a couple of coats on, and it beads up like anything else. You can see where you've missed if you do, and it's easily cleanable. But it has to be reapplied every couple of years. But it's UV stabilized and it's great. So we use masonry sealers. Most of them are okay in terms of putting food on them. People love bluestone counters where I am, and cement. We also do concrete counters, and those you can seal with whatever concrete sealant you can find that's UV stabilized.
To touch on that a little bit too, is there's a product called Decton that Constantino brought out for countertops, and it is the best outdoor product for countertops.
It is beautiful.
You don't have to seal it. It's pretty much bulletproof. There's nothing you can do to it. It is designed to be used outside. They do have lighter colors, which are really nice. They do have like the marbly looks. They have the lighter like sandstone looks, different textures to them.
Yep.
But if your client is like not the client that's going to deal with maintenance at all, you could do, this is the countertop. You can even build the whole, you could have all the facing of the outdoor kitchen be in the same material too. You can use it on the floor. They're in the other building,
We're here in the North
Constantino display. So
with Brown Jordan, with Danver.
yeah. It's
Constantino.
Decton, and it's by Constantino, and that's also who makes Silestone. So if you see the big Silestone sign when you go into the other building, the other hall, you can find them, and they'll have the big sheets, and they can tell you all about it. But you can put a marker on it. They're even saying you can like put a blowtorch to it, and
It's not
like,
cheap.
It's comparable to indoor quartz.
Yeah.
So the indoor quartz countertops, the tier 1 brands, you're going to see that these slabs are going to be a very comparable price. They are a little more difficult to fabricate, so you do want to make sure you have a good fabricator, and you can't use every edge detail on it. So if your client's looking for that triple OG going on in there, probably not going to do it. You're going to stick more to your miters, more to your kind of more simple, clean lines. And make sure you have a good fabricator that's certified to do Decton.
The other point that people don't think about when designing kitchens, we talk about the stainless, we talk about the counters, the floor. Whatever that floor surface is, better be able to be cleaned, because it's going to get greasy, it's going to get spotted, just like your kitchen floor. Can't just sweep it up. So you want to make sure that whatever you're using in that kitchen area, be it stone or pavers or tile or whatever, you really want to make sure that that's a surface that can be cleaned.
And unfortunately, we are out of time. I appreciate all of the great questions
Thank you.
for coming, and thank you for all of your wisdom
Thanks
and
for asking us.
insight.
Thank you for having us,
fun.
and thank you for you guys coming, and appreciate it.
Thank you.